Thank you for joining me on U24 News Flash Hour. I'm Shamim Kiza. The family of the former Forum for Democratic Change President, Dr. Kano Kiza Besigyes, has spoken out in distress over his continued detention, warning that his health is deteriorating as he stages a hunger strike in protest. In a statement amplified by his sister-in-law, Edith Byanyima, the family condemned what they described as illegal detention in defiance of court orders, equating it to state-sanctioned kidnapping.
Family members of Dr. Kiza Besigyes demand for his immediate release following concerns that his health situation is deteriorating.
We are forced to speak out now because we believe the worst may be imminent.
A joint statement signed by the Byanyima family asserts that the prison authorities called requesting for Dr. Besigyes' personal doctor, implying that the former FDC leader is not well.
This coming after authorities had repeatedly denied him access to his own doctor is worrying. We fear that this sudden change signals a severe decline in his condition.
Dr. Kiza Besigyes and friend Obed Lutale are still in prison despite ruling stopping their trial from a military court. These accuse religious leaders, among other prominent organizations, for silence over the demand for release of Dr. Kiza Besigyes.
Your moral voice is needed now more than ever. You who shepherd our communities and stand for sanctity of human life, we implore you to speak out.
But during the celebration to remember Archbishop Janan Luwum in Kitgum, the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Dr. Kazimba Mugalu, called for a consensus regarding the health of Dr. Kiza Besigyes.
And the other politicians, where we need to consider their health conditions. We serve a God of a second chance. There should be an opportunity for dialogue and reconciliation.
Hundreds of people gathered in Tel Aviv on Saturday, demanding the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government fully implement of Gaza ceasefire agreement as someone called on two-state solution. Demonstrators were seen holding chanting slogans, while the messages including on them were "Do not kill the deal. Deal is to save and free all Palestinians from hell, Israel and Palestinians," as some carried Israel flags while others were putting on masks representing political figures such as the US President Donald Trump. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged for hostilities to be avoided at all costs for the Gaza ceasefire agreement as it continues. During his speech at the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa on Saturday. During his speech, he also acknowledged about the humanitarian crisis in Sudan as the ongoing conflict had forced more than 10.7 million people to be displaced out of the country, while 1.8 million were left to flock the country, making it the highest displacement rates globally.
A crisis that is increasingly spilling over into the wider region, and a crisis that demands sustained and urgent attention from the African Union and the broader international community. Humanitarian access remains a fundamental challenge, particularly where the fighting is most active. And I salute local responders, civil society organizations, including women-led organizations, who continue to work bravely and tirelessly to provide assistance and services in their communities, often at great personal risk. Excellencies, as we focus on the response to the humanitarian needs, let's also be clear about basic principles. Civilians, including humanitarian workers, must be protected. Rapid, safe, unhindered and sustained humanitarian access must be facilitated in all areas of need. The external support and flow of weapons must end. This flow is enabling the continuation of tremendous civilian destruction and bloodshed. Excellencies, we know what the Sudanese people want. We have held extensive consultations with Sudanese civilians and are crying out for an immediate ceasefire and the protection of civilians. My personal envoy is engaging with the warring parties on concrete ways to advance these aims, including through the full implementation of the Jeddah Declaration. Excellencies, the holy month of Ramadan is around the corner. At this blessed time for peace, compassion, giving and solidarity, I urge all of you to use your tremendous leverage for good. Generously support the humanitarian response and press for respect for international law, for a cessation of hostilities, life-saving aid, and the lasting peace that the people of Sudan so desperately need.
Yeah, I have a sentence before.
We must do more and do more now to help the people of Sudan out of this nightmare, and I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your powerful words and unwavering commitment to Sudan and its people.
The Rwandan-backed M23 rebels have entered Bukavu, the second largest city in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, early Sunday morning, as some onlookers were seen cheering them at their arrival.
Warehouse being raided, and this is according to reports that also added almost 7,000 tons of food grains have been stolen. Now, images do show large crowds carrying away white sacks of supplies. M23 rebels have been pushing south since seizing Goma, the largest city in the region, at the end of last month. On Friday, Corneille Nangaa, leader of a rebel alliance that includes M23, declared that the rebels had entered Bukavu and will continue their operations. While some residents reported seeing rebels in northern Bukavu, the city center remains under government control.
The High Court has ordered the arrest of the Uganda Law Society President Isaac Semakade to serve a 2-year jail term for contempt of court, citing his persistent attacks on the judicial officials. Semakade was found guilty of making defamatory and scandalous remarks against the judiciary on social media, warning that such behavior cannot be tolerated, as Justice Musa Sekana stated. I thank you for watching U24. I'm Shamim Keys.